Hello everybody and welcome to another One Piece video. And since there is no manga chapters to cover for a while, we're going to be going over episode 1066, the quote-unquote finale to the Big Mom versus Kid and Law fight. It's been a while since I've done a single review for anime episode of One Piece. Not to say that I haven't enjoyed it. In fact, on the contrary, I've actually enjoyed a lot of episodes that the Toei, I have to give credit where credit is due. Toei have been going above and beyond, and I said this in manga chapter reviews, but they've really gone beyond ever since we entered the land of Wano almost 3 to 4 years ago in the anime. So when we saw Zoro unleashing the Dragon Twister in the Flower Capital, you knew there was a change in the direction of where the One Piece anime was going. And the one thing I have said multiple times, I like the attention to detail where they add certain things like the manga didn't have the time for, or Oda was just rushed to get over with. So I really appreciate that. So the last episode I covered was the episode where the anime returned after the pandemic era hit and One Piece was forced to go on a hiatus. So when the anime returned, I covered that episode. I went over a bunch of stuff that I appreciated. Most importantly, with Yamato, the return of Jinbei reuniting with Luffy and the rest of the Straw Hats. That was also the introduction of the Tubby Robo, and which is what I want to start off with before I get into the Big Mom, Kid and Law stuff. I actually want to give my thoughts on the fights with the Tubby Robo and the Straw Hats. So obviously, a lot of fights in the manga were kind of like there, in my opinion. But the anime made it seem like a much bigger deal, a way bigger deal, like especially with Frankie and Jinbei polishing off Sasaki and Who's Who we found out actually was in charge of watching over the Goma Goma no Mi, which Shanks stole, which is now is a very important plot point heading to the finale of Wano. Even the Nami and Ulti stuff, even though I wasn't a big fan of the ending, because of why I have such an issue with the ending of the Nami Ulti fight, it comes off the heels of two of the most impactful, most defining moments for Nami's character throughout the entirety of the Wano arc. The first moment is when she's in the clutches of Ulti, and Ulti's demanding that Nami refute what she said about Luffy becoming king of the pirates, and the anime does a back and forth between the interactions she has with Luffy, especially when it comes to Arlong Park. So you combine that with the voice acting and the music, that moment hits, especially when she says, no, Luffy's not going to give up on becoming king of the pirates, so he will not stop. So that was the first moment. The second moment was when Nami's anger kicked in the moment Ulti kicked the hell out of Tama, and when this happened in the manga, I was like, okay, good, this is the catalyst for what Nami needed. And I was hoping it would, especially with Nami's dialogue, like in the anime, it's like, oh, I'm gonna kick your ass now, like it's on, I'm not gonna forgive you for this. The visuals of Nami getting pissed, you felt it, and I felt this was such a golden opportunity. I feel like it should have been Nami, and instead Zeus was the one that took off on his own and attacked Ulti. Just this build up would have been perfect for Nami's character to hammer down, no, she's gonna prove Ulti wrong by defeating her, that Luffy will become king of the pirates, and number two, to get payback for what Ulti did to Tama. So I thought that was a good catalyst, because I feel like Nami should have been the one to attack and finish off Ulti. I get it, Ulti's too strong, but I still, given the two character moments, two awesome character moments, and they made those moments so impactful. I wish Oda made a change with the direction of these episodes and had Nami be the one to attack Ulti instead of Zeus being the one to KO Ulti finally. So I get it. I know Ulti was too strong for Nami, but she was already nerfed with Yamato anyway. So you could have told that story without Big Mom. It was overkill. I still feel that way. Even with that, and the fact that I didn't agree with that, to get credit where credit's due, every fight mattered. But to me, obviously the standout, and this is not going to change, the best handled fight in Onigashima goes to Nico Robin and Black Maria. It may not be as flashy as Sanji versus Queen or Zoro versus King. I mean, what episode is going to top that? To me, that's not what matters. To me, it's all about focus and spotlight, and the way they handled that fight did it so much justice with Robin finally getting a moment to shine. Like the last time she had a 1v1 was all the way back in Skypiea, and we've been waiting this long, and they knocked it out of the park. The anime made it a bigger deal. I loved it in the manga. I loved it even more in the anime. If there's one hiccup they made, it's probably having Luffy, Nico Robin, and Black Mario fight, and then it cuts to Luffy. That's the only thing I would have changed, but outside of that, everything else was perfect. It was inch perfect. It is still the best handled fight, even with what we got coming, and with this episode especially, is the best handled fight. It's the only fight that Oda did not skip away from. He didn't cut back and forth. He gave it focus, even though they did cut away to Luffy. It wasn't multiple times like every other fight. So I enjoyed that fight probably more than all the others, to be honest. And obviously Robin getting a moment. We see in the flashback with her using Fishman Karate, having Koala and Sabo train her. The flashback, that was great. And her using the Minia floor to finally snap Black Maria like a toothpick, and they actually made that struggle. They really, I mean, the brass notes where Robin is getting the absolutely shit beaten out of her by Black Maria. They emphasized just how much damage Robin was able to take. And by the way, this was not Robin using gigantic fleur in a different way this time. This was Robin's actual body getting beaten by Black Maria, who was overly sized here. So I just wanted to emphasize how well they handled that part. There's a kind of a parallel, if you want to call it that, with Law in this episode, where he's just getting, Law and Kid actually, where they're both getting the shit pounded out of them by Big Mom. Obviously, I've talked about this in the manga review, but as Sanji versus Queen and the way that fight was handled.
The two biggest takeaways from the conclusion to the Sanji Queen fight in episode 1061 is when number one, Sanji uses Ifrit Jamba for the first time, and I like how it's kind of a decent reminder of how it works, like with him combining the colour of Armament Haki with his exoskeleton that his other siblings had, which allows him to absorb huge amounts of damage. I mean, we saw Reiju take bullet shots from Pudding and she was fine. The exoskeletons are pretty tough, and we see Sanji awaken that during this fight, and he uses that combined with his Armament Haki to form Ifrit Jamba. I like how it transitions from his normal Diablo Jamba, where you see the purple spiral and then it turns into the blue. They just nailed that moment home, and like I said, it's a cool reminder of how it works. It increases his acceleration, his attacks get heavier, but it does give him a huge drawback. It takes a huge toll, obviously, because he passes out after that fight. Zoro passes out after this fight and meets the Grim Reaper.
I mean, that episode, in terms of animation, may not be topped unless depending on what we get with Gear 5th Luffy versus Kaido, which I'll get into because we got info about that. There's a lot to cover, so like I said, I just wanted to get my brief thoughts on that. Even with the whole duo attack on Kaido with Yamato and Luffy, that moment was great, and it just emphasized just how well they've handled Yamato. And it sucks because I know what's coming as a manga reader, but I'm not going to take away what they put into these episodes. Like, the moments speak for themselves, the episodes speak for themselves. It's not to say that Zoro versus King, the finale, did not hit the mark. It did. From the word go, everything was happening so fast, so fluid, like you could literally like frame shot every scene and you would find something epic. So especially with King, like they did a phenomenal job highlighting like King's like upbringing. Like you see, there's a shot where he's about to unleash his final attack, and you see different versions of King while he's about to unleash that attack in different frames, and you really have to pause to understand it. So that's really cool. The director for this episode is Henry Thurlow, which I believe is the first foreign actor outside of Japan to ever direct a One Piece episode. This is actually the first episode he worked into. So how was this episode? Well, honestly, for a first time ago, I honestly thought it was a home run. They nailed it. There are some dry patches like that. They do extend the Momonosuke scene where to try and stop Onigashima from reaching the Flower Capital. That scene is played to death, but I understand it because this chapter, episode 1066, does end the same way chapter 1040 did. The episode starts off with the way it ended, with Kid, who is literally covered in blood, just beaten to death after the Big Mom's unleashed Fury, which I like this approach because it reminds me of the Goku Hit episode where we see Goku dead at the start of the episode, and it's how the episode ended. It just gave me those vibes. It was Kid. You saw nothing but you saw Kid just drenched in blood. Obviously, they changed the color scheme because obviously the blood looked purple. I didn't mind that too much because it wasn't like the sense of the episode. But you just see the images, the still images, the black and white images, which I actually thought was a great touch. With Kid and his experiences, everything from his shot as a kid in the SBS cover, 64 cover that we got, everything with his crew into the new world, his Kid alliance with Hawkins and Apu, which obviously they portray him, and then obviously with the Supernova Trio at Sabine Archipelago, which them being on Wano now is about to have a great impact on. It's about to change the landscape of One Piece when it comes to the Yonko. Like, it's literally a changing of the guard. That's what this episode was. It was a significant episode that really emphasized just how important this moment was. How to take down a Yonko in the form of Big Mom. So that was actually really cool. And obviously, like I said, the episode starts with the way it ends, with Law yelling for Kid to move in and actually land the final attack. Obviously, like I said, the Momonosuke stuff, it was played out a little bit too much, but like I said, it doesn't really change the flow of how the episode and how the manga chapter ended, so that's fine. But in the moment we see Momonosuke trying to stop Onigashima, we do get a Dragon Ball Z Easter egg with the eye catcher in the form of Hiyori in the place of little Gohan running up to Kazuki Odin, so that was actually really cool. It was a complete throwback to that. But speaking of Kid, we actually get into the action with Punk Cordinio trying to ram Big Mom. It ends up sends her into a wall, which she ends up using to her advantage, but the attack ends up actually breaking Big Mom's wrist, where she actually uses the power of her soul focus to actually change her bones into homies so it can actually regenerate itself. I thought that was really cool. I wonder if we're going to get to see other Devil Fruit users do that in the future. That'd be really cool. Big Mom gets super pissed, and Kid actually goes in and actually uses a sign to actually, and he stamps S on Big Mom's forehead and on the wall that Big Mom's about to get pulled into. But like I said, she ends up using that to her advantage because Kid's about to come in with Punk Cordinio again with the Bull Kid form out of metal, and ends up using the wall. She turns herself, which is crazy because I think that moment's going to go under the radar considering how big that building actually is. So she turns around, she uses the wall to actually deflect the attack. So that was really cool. She uses Mother Grizzly Cannon. Now, it's obviously 3,000 leagues, which in Japanese means in search of a mother, which if you see Mother Grizzly, then obviously it's a reference to Mother Caramel from the flashback, Big Mom's flashback, that Hera and Prometheus actually combine, and you see this aura and it just completely forms into Mother Grizzly. That was really cool. They actually add Mother Grizzly using a Gatling, quote unquote, to actually beat the hell out of Kid, which did not happen in the manga, by the way. They did go above and beyond to showcase how much damage both Kid and Law were taking. It's crazy that Kid and Law are still alive. He's literally getting the shit beaten out of him by Big Mom. Big Mom's like, Mother Grizzly finished the job, but then all of a sudden, Law, I think, ends up saving Kid by using tact to send the building. It was kind of hilarious to me, Big Mom's reaction. All you see just this shadow towering above her, and then you see Law's tact using the piece of the building to drop on Big Mom, and you just see Law's reaction. Yep, you're going down, bitch. So because Law and Big Mom had a pretty decent exchange, when the teleportation of Law's techniques being used, she's flicking pebbles, so he can trade himself in, so he can actually attack Big Mom at different parts. That was actually really cool to see how Law's fighting style, and then Law comes in using Kroom anesthesia, and then uses that to pierce Big Mom again, like he did before. Only this time it goes to a much grander scale. So he uses Puncture Willy that goes all the way down to the bottom to where we find out where Big Mom's about to go, which is at the bottom of a volcano. You see where Law is trying to range the Puncture Willy, but Big Mom's pierced, so she can't go anywhere. You see the color of the technique, and now in the manga, a lot of people thought that was purple, but we found that obviously in the anime it's yellow. And you see the range of the attack, it's even cutting into, literally getting in the way of the Kazanbone Yamato clash, because it literally goes straight down, it goes through them. That's actually going to give Yamato a big hand here. And then Law's like just holding on, but he's getting the shit beaten out of him, much like Kid was. I like how they changed the color scheme, especially when they punch. Like it's emphasizing just how much damage they're really taking from Big Mom. Really cool. You see the range of the attack. You see how the attack activates, which shocks Big Mom. However, and then that's where Law's like, "Yo, use this, do it." That's how we get to this moment with Kid darting up, using damn punks to shoot Big Mom, and that's how the episode ends. And it ends with a to be continued Kid style. With the magnetism, we saw this with Zoro a couple episodes ago with the mark of Zoro. As thing like it's pretty much the ending of the final fight. There's still some bits to go, and then we move on to Kaido versus Luffy. Pretty good, solid episode, I would say, for a debut for someone who's never directed a One Piece episode before. And it really emphasizes like this is a big moment. Like we're witnessing the downfall of the Yonko little by little, and it starts with Big Mom. Obviously, like I said, there's a bit to go. I think Big Mom actually uses Conqueror's Haki, but Law does something which is pretty much going to shock anime casuals. Anime only, because it actually shocked me when it happened, when he did this. So that was actually really cool. Then we go into the main event with Luffy versus Kaido. Manga readers, you know what's coming. It looks like there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be a postponement of the episode where we get Luffy Gear 5th versus Kaido. I believe that episode is going to air in August now. I don't know when the date is, but that's just... And what's interesting to me, and I actually asked this before, because it says episode 1071 and 1072 are postponed and will air in August. And I'm like, wait, is this like confirmation that this is going to be it? Because there was rumors this was going to be a 2-part episode, which I wouldn't be opposed to. In fact, Goku and Jiren had something similar, and they also did the same thing for Luffy versus Sanji. It was part of the crossover they had back in 2017, where it started with Luffy versus Sanji 1 week without Dragon Ball Super. So that was actually a really good episode. And then the following week we got Goku versus Jiren, which led to Goku go in Ultra Instinct for the first time in episode 110, which broke the internet. Still to this day, it's one of the most infamous episodes ever and moments. If that's the case, then I don't think it's a bad situation to like follow suit, because it's going to be a big deal one way or the other. So I may end up actually reacting to. I don't react to the anime very much, but this is a once in a lifetime moment for sure, an episode. So yeah, I think there's a trailer coming. I'm not going to check that out because I know what's coming and I just want to see it for myself when the moment actually happens for the first time in the anime. I want to see how it looks like without having been shoved down my throat. So I'm going to appreciate the episode regardless. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be postponed. And I don't know if it's obviously not because it's One Piece Day and the One Piece anniversary, because that's in July. I'm curious as to why they made that decision. Like I said, I get the feeling it's something to do with the pacing, because right now One Piece is on break, like I mentioned in the manga. One Piece Oda's on hiatus right now, so we've got a couple of weeks till we get another chapter, because Oda needs to recoup, and he may have some input on the live action as well as this episode, which August is looking like it's going to be a pretty big month. Speaking of live action, we got the trailer for the One Piece live action that's going to air on Netflix. Now, apparently, it airing Thursday, August 31st, with episode 1071 being postponed to August. I'm wondering if that's just a coincidence or if they're doing that by design. Because like I said, I don't think we have a date. I also don't know if it's true there's a double episode. So if you know in the comments, let me know, because that's going to be kind of curious. Even though they did the same thing for Goku Jiren, it technically wasn't the end of the arc. Like it was like the halfway point of the Tournament of Power. So curious whether or not they will pack this entire fight into 2 episodes. But I'm like, no, they won't do that, just because like the pacing would be ruined. We're not that too far away from Mega Island, really. We're not too far away from the ending of Wano, so I can't see them doing that. I did watch the trailer of the One Piece live action, kind of curiously. I was like, if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. But to me, like what I saw wasn't bad. Like there's some shots that look really good. There's a shot with the Sea King in the background that's about to munch on Luffy, that Shanks protects Luffy from. And it's not the entire series now. I believe like it's going to be 8 episodes max for the East Blue Saga, so that's kind of cool. 2 takes I've seen from this are people like kind of like really apprehensive about this, because like they're like, why are we doing this? Because that obviously Hollywood have a horrible history of taking some beloved franchises from the anime and making it into complete trash. Obviously Death Note and obviously Dragon Ball Evolution comes to mind. So yeah, people do not want that for One Piece. But to me, I see it a little bit different. There's others like people are okay with this. Like there's going to be casual viewers that don't know much about One Piece. They're going to be seeing this for the first time. That I believe that's what this series is for. That's what why Oda is directing. He's having a hand in this series. A big ton of respect between Kishimoto and Oda, because obviously with the final chapter of Naruto, Kishimoto drew a Straw Hat Jolly Roger on the Hokage Stone face of Naruto, and obviously in chapter 766 of One Piece, in the cover page, Oda made a reference to Naruto. There's also a great deal of envy when it comes to like Oda, because Kishimoto did make it big in the West. Like that's what Oda wanted for One Piece. One Piece is starting to take off with a lot of casuals that are starting to pick up the series after probably catching maybe an opening or a trailer. Succeeding, we're getting new viewers. It's like it's starting to reach that scale. It's starting to reach a broader audience. Like so, one way or the other, that's not going to change. But I feel like this is a win-win for Oda anyway, because his series got picked up by Hollywood in 2020 and Wano started in 2019. Now, I don't know how long this was in the works before they made this announcement. So I'm just going to throw this out there. Maybe it has something to do with how the anime was received when we entered the land of Wano. Because it was on, like I said at the beginning, it was on a whole other scale. I have a hard time feeling like they're just going to trash on it. The cast, I don't have doubt, they're going to play their roles perfectly. They're loyal to the series. They love the series. Emily Rudd is a big Nami fan. One of her best moments, one of her favorite moments. She even says it publicly in an interview that it's the scene when Nami asked Luffy for help during the Arlong Park arc. Which by the way, regardless, there's only a trailer what we got. I can't wait. I'm curious to see how they handle the Arlong Luffy fight. They're pumping $18 million into each episode. I said that's not chump change. And we combine there's like 8 episodes. You do the math. Like I believe that's like the most expensive streaming series on Netflix. So that's not a joke. You're not going to pump that much money into an episode just to trash it. I'm sorry. So yeah, so I'm just going to give it a chance. 31st, the episode involving episode 1071 looks to be postponed, and possibly 1072 if that turns out to be a double episode, which that's cool if it is. If it's not, then fine. It's still going to be a landmark moment for sure. Like I said, it may be on the level of Ultra Instinct when all is said and done, or maybe even surpass. For sure, it's going to break the internet. Like I said, Wano has some great moments. We forgot the climax to the Big Mom. They really did the climax to the Big Mom versus Kid and Law fight justice. About to enter the main event with Luffy versus Kaido, which you already see the Gurusei a couple episodes ago already talking about. I'm worried about the Gama Gama no Mi being awakened. So they're already hyping you up. I can't express enough, but I just wanted to get my thoughts on what's been going on recently in the anime and how well they've hit the mark. That's going to do it for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Like the video if you did. A thumbs up. I appreciate that. Helps the channel a lot. Subscribe channel for more One Piece. Catch you guys later. Thanks guys. Bye.